Hello everyone. In this short video, we'll discuss privacy rules in Bubble and why they are so important. Let's dive in. First things first, what are privacy rules? In Bubble, privacy rules are set of guidelines and conditions that determine who can access, view, and modify data stored in your application. They are crucial for maintaining the security and privacy of your users' information. Privacy rules protects your users' data from unauthorized access and potential security breaches. Setting up proper privacy rules ensures that sensitive information remains secure and accessible only to the right individuals or user roles. To implement privacy rules in Bubble, head to the Data tab and go to Privacy. Publicly visible means everyone can access all the data available in this data type. If you click on define a new rule, then you can say admin, or you can name it anything. Then mention who can access this data. For example, current user is this points creator. This condition means only the creator of this particular data will be able to access it. Okay, and we can also mention view all fields. That means this particular person can view all the fields in that particular record, or if you want to specify only particular points, then you can mention that as well, right? And find this in searches. That means when you do a search for, only that particular person can search for these items. View attached files. If there is any files attached to this particular record, they can view that files. Allow auto binding is helpful when you do auto binding. This is the only way how you can control the write access. It's generally read access otherwise. And you can control the write delete access only via the front end. When you define a new rule, everyone else default permissions is set for all of these options. Only auto binding is not set. This means everyone else can also view all the fields, find this in searches, and view attached files. If you do not want everyone else to be viewing all fields, you have to uncheck it. Find this in searches, you have to uncheck this, and view attached files should also be unchecked. If there is any data that needs to be publicly visible, you can tick those. Okay, let's say point 1 and point 2 is something that you want everyone to be able to see, then you have to check those. Now let's go to users, where I've created 4, or rather 3 rules, and one is everyone else. We'll look into how this will be visible on the front end. So option set, I've created access, which has admin, user, and owner. And in the privacy, I've given 3 conditions, which is current user's access is admin, current user's access is owner, and this user is current user. When we say this, it belongs to the particular record. Okay, so this user means each individual record. So let's slightly change the rules. For admin, we have mentioned view all fields. Since we have just a few fields, I would enable just the name. I'll disable the phone. Created date is enabled and email is enabled. Modified date and other things are not enabled here. Let's see what is displayed on the front end. The owner, that means the app owner, okay, will be able to see everything. View all fields, auto binding enabled for all of them, and find this in searches. Everything is enabled for the owner. Users own data, they can access all the fields, but auto binding enabled only for name and phone number. Everyone else, we have not enabled anything. Let's enable a few things later and see how it will be displayed on the front end. So I'll go to the front end. Let me go ahead and add a repeating group, which will be of type users, and I'll say do a search for users. I'll remove this and make it as 45. I'll not be looking into the design aspect of it. Let me add a input field because we are also looking into enabling auto binding, right? So I'll enable this and I'll say this as name. I'll make this repeating group as row so that it auto aligns, and I'll add a left of 10 to this, and this can be of type axis, or rather I'll make this as phone number, and I'll add a drop down which can be of dynamic types axis, all axes, current options, display, and I'll enable this one for access, and let me add a left of 10, right? And I'll add a couple of more fields which will be current users email and the created date, creation date, 10 10. Firstly, let's look at the preview. And surprisingly, nothing will be shown. Why? Because there is no user who has logged in, and as per the privacy policy, for everyone else, that means for the users who are not logged in, okay, we are not displaying anything, right? So let me just mark as name and email ID here just to see if there is some change. There is no change because we have not enabled find this in searches. Only find this in searches will enable us to view these two fields in the searches. That means when we do a search for, we'll be able to find these two places. As you can see, this one and this one is now being displayed. That is the name and the email ID because we have enabled this. Okay, so let me disable this now and we'll not be able to see any of them again. Let me go to the app data where we have three users, one of which is a user access type, one of which is admin access type, and the other one is owner. Now let me log in as a user to see what will be displayed. You can see we are displaying only that particular user's data because we have added a privacy rules which says user's own data. This user is current user. This user here refers to each of the records. Okay, and this is true only for one of the record where it says this user is current user, where it matches the condition this user is current user, and because of which it is displaying on the front end. Now I've also enabled auto binding for name and phone number. Okay, while this is enabled for other user but not for the current user. Okay, access is not enabled here, so if I change this, it will throw error, sorry, you do not have permission to modify this. Okay, while I can change this one and it will get updated. This can also be updated accordingly because we have enabled auto binding. Now let me log in as an admin to the app to see what will be displayed. And here, as you can see, we can see the names, we can see the phone number of that particular user, we can see the access of that particular user and the email IDs. Why are we not able to see the phone number and access of other users? That's because in the admin privacy policy, we have added to view only the name, created date, email. We have not enabled access and phone number. One interesting thing though, Since we have enabled auto binding for name and phone number, even though they cannot see the phone number, they will be able to change the phone number of other users. For example, this particular user, let me change it to 76890 for ABCDE. And if we go to the data and if I refresh this for ABCDE, 76890 has got updated as the phone number, but they'll still not be able to see here. Okay, and of course they cannot change the access because we have not given that permission. Okay, they cannot even change their own access because we haven't given that permission. Now if I log in as the owner, I should be able to see all the data and I should be able to change all the data. Okay, this user, I'll change it as admin, and this should go through. If we go to the database, you see that we have two admins now. Okay, again, this is possible because we have given a privacy policy where owner, current users access is owner, then they'll be able to see all the fields, and auto binding is enabled for all the fields. And this is how you can test if the privacy rules are set properly or not. Add a repeating group, add all the data fields on the front end, log in as different users to see what they are able to see and what they are able to edit. Okay, editing, again, like I mentioned before, will be applicable only if you enable auto binding. Otherwise, you will be able to control the editing or deleting the data via the front end. Just to recap, when setting up privacy rules, it's essential to follow best practices. This includes granting the minimum necessary access to user roles, regularly reviewing and updating privacy rules as your app evolves, testing your privacy rules to ensure they work as intended. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to contact support@red7.com and we will try to create a video tutorial for that. Thank you again. Have a nice day.